Welcome to Phil's Place. It seems as though the hiring of Mike McCarthy has received a lot of criticism, a lot of disappointment. A lot of people are underwhelmed. Most people are calling it a lateral move. And I have to say that I agree with all of those comments, all those statements, all of those feelings, all of those emotions, because I've talked about it with my friend Mike Merriam, who is on my podcast quite a bit now, about the Steelers needing to hire a young and up and coming offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator to be named the head coach of the Steelers. Okay. That didn't happen. And the statement from Art Rooney II is we needed to hire somebody who can actually take care of the quarterback position. It's the position that needs to be paid the most attention to. And I get that. I understand that. And Mike McCarthy does have a track record of being involved in the development of good quarterbacks. He coached Brett Favre, he coached Aaron Rodgers, and he coached Dak Prescott. Mike McCarthy won a Super Bowl, but he's 62 years old. I don't know that that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it goes against what the Steelers have done in their hiring practices going back to 1969. Chuck Noll was 37 years old in 1969 when he was hired as the Steelers head coach. Of course, in the 70s, we know he won 4 Super Bowls, had other very, very good teams. And then he was done at the end of the 1991 season. 1992, Bill Cowher took over at the age of 35. He was the defensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's from Crafton, a suburb of Pittsburgh, just sitting along the city limits line. And he won a Super Bowl. He had a lot of winning seasons, a lot of playoff appearances, a couple losing seasons, as did Chuck Noll towards the end of his tenure. Bill Cowher steps down at the end of the 2006 season. The Steelers hire Mike Tomlin, who I want to say was 35 also. He's 53, 54-ish. Yeah, and his last season was 2005, or 2025, I should say. So here you have this trend that dates back to, call it, 56 years ago, 57 years ago, where the Rooney family hired young head coaches. Now they went a different direction. Mike McCarthy will be addressing the media today. He's going to be officially announced as the head coach by Art Rooney II. So where does this take the future of the Steelers? And when I say future, I'm actually talking about, who is Mike McCarthy going to hire to be his coordinators and all the position coaches and the assistants? Who's going to be involved in the scouting team? What is his relationship going to be like with Omar Khan and his assistant? I think his name's Andy Weedle, whatever his first name is. What's their direction going to be? Who are they going to keep on the roster? Who's going to get cut from the roster? Who are the free agents that they're going to sign? Who are they going to be looking at the combine? Who are going to be the names that will be listed as potential draft picks each round? These are all things that we really need to take a look at. And these are all things that we just have to patiently sit back and wait to see what happens. Is Will Howard going to be the starting quarterback? Is he our QB1? Is Aaron Rodgers going to come back and perhaps be QB1 or be a QB2 perhaps and be a tutor for a second season to Will Howard and help in the development of Will Howard? And for those of you who don't know much about Will Howard, he won a championship with Ohio State his senior year. I actually think that all of you should watch the episode of John Gruden's podcast where he sits down with Will Howard. He picks his brain. He's digging deep into his quarterback mind, measuring his quarterback IQ, his football IQ in this episode, getting to see his character, who he is as a person, how he carries himself. And then they go to an indoor practice facility and he's running drills, throwing passes, various routes being ran by receivers who are part of this podcast. And seems to me, the impression I have is that John Gruden is pretty high on Will Howard. After watching that, I was high on Will Howard. I believe this was taped before he was drafted by the Steelers before the 2025 NFL draft. So if they go the direction of Will Howard being the future of the Pittsburgh Steelers as its QB, it'll be interesting to see how he does at training camp. It's going to be interesting to see how he does in preseason games. and of course, how he performs in the regular season. It's going to be a tough schedule. The Steelers are playing all the other teams in the AFC that finished in first place. And these are teams that likely could end up, finishing in first place again, especially the New England Patriots. So that's part of what I wanted to just talk about. Okay. And the one comment that I do have, and I didn't know any of this until after I watched an episode of Debo and Joe. This is James Harrison and Joe Hayden. They have an excellent podcast. If you are watching podcasts, if you're like me, I watch a lot of podcasts. I don't really watch television. I don't really stream, any shows that are on Netflix or other streaming services. Of course, I do watch some sports, and part of what I watch on YouTube, it's not all sports, music, travel. That's kind of my career, digging deep into cultures and stuff like that. But anyway, going back to this episode, Debo, James Harrison, was talking about how Mike Tomlin, how he always says that he doesn't pay attention to the outside noise. We alluded to this when I had Mike on the last time. And why James Harrison went down this road, I don't know. But he told Joe Hayden that back in 2018, he was interviewed by whomever, and he was asked who of the two, Bill Belichick, because James Harrison did play for the Patriots for a little bit, who of the two coaches are better, Mike Tomlin or Bill Belichick? Well, James Harrison said Bill Belichick, and that got back to Mike Tomlin, this interview, and it really upset him. And they were trading text messages on a Tuesday during training camp at St. Vincent College in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. He read these text messages during this podcast, James Harrison did. He had these text messages saved. And the point that James Harrison was making was, regardless of who he said the better coach is, why is Mike Tomlin going back and forth with him in kind of like a text battle, in a text exchange on a Tuesday afternoon during training camp, which, by the way, they were prepping for a preseason game that was going to be played on a Thursday night. He doesn't pay attention to outside noise, he always said, Mike Tomlin. Well, if he was going back and forth with James Harrison, like I said, on a Tuesday afternoon at training camp, 2 days before a preseason game, then how often was Coach Tomlin not focused on his job as head coach, preparing to the nth detail for each game during the regular season, or during training camp, during mini camp, whatever it is? How often was he letting this outside noise bother him throughout his coaching career with the Steelers? That I don't know. There might be people on the inside that know that, but that's neither here nor there. But I do know this much. I don't see Mike McCarthy being distracted, or his coaching staff being distracted during spring or during training camp, getting ready for preseason games, making decisions on which players are going to be cut, which players are going to be kept, getting ready for the regular season, and getting ready each week during the regular season for each game. I don't see Mike McCarthy letting outside noise, letting distractions get to him while he's going to be doing his job as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. To me, it's called responsibility, okay? And I know we're only using one example that we know of during Tomlin's tenure, but that's enough for me, and obviously for James Harrison, when he was telling Joe Hayden about this text exchange that he kept on his phone. He called it his receipts. He has receipts about that particular day back in July 2018, or I'm sorry, I'll say August 2018, whenever he read those texts. He kept those text messages. He has his receipts. He shared that to the public via his podcast. Again, I know it's only one episode. It's only one incident, but it tells me there could have been many others. And there is no head coach in the NFL that should be paying attention to the outside noise. There are no coordinators. There are no position coaches, assistants, anyone, front office that should be paying attention to the outside noise in the middle of a regular season in the NFL. That's the point that I'm making here. Mike McCarthy will have a very responsible approach. Mike McCarthy will see to it that he will serve in his role to the best of his ability to make sure that the Steelers are prepped every week to play their games. to face their opponents. I'm not saying that Mike McCarthy is going to be coaching a team that will become 17-0. I'm not saying that his team will make the playoffs. I'm not saying they'll have a winning season. We don't know any of that. We get up in arms. I get up in arms. I wasn't happy when Mike and I had taped our episode on Saturday afternoon at 2:00. News, actually, we got on before 2:00. News broke 10 minutes before we recorded, and we were all in shock. It was like being blindsided, to be honest with you, because of everything I said before. Looking at hiring another young, up and coming, innovative, strong football mind, high football IQ type of coach. But that didn't happen. Okay. And we don't have to be happy about it. We're not jumping up and down saying, oh, Steelers are going to win a Super Bowl. Oh, but give the guy a chance. Give him a chance. We'll see who he hires as his coordinators. We will see who he hires to be position coaches. We will see everything I just said earlier, their approach at the combine, the free agent, whenever free agency opens up. We'll see what they do. Okay. We got to take this one day at a time, Steelers Nation. We have to. We don't have a choice. We don't have to be happy about it right now, but give the man a chance. Okay. He's a Pittsburgh guy too, from Greenfield. He's as Pittsburgh as you get. I hope that he is speaking with a Pittsburgh accent every time he's interviewed. I hope during his press conference today at 2:00 at the Steelers facility, actually it's going to be at Acrisure Stadium. Sorry about that. I hope he talks with the Pittsburgh accent. I hope that he lays out what his game plan is going to be. Okay. I know that he didn't last in Green Bay. I don't know that he was fired if he walked out on his own, had a disagreement with Jerry Jones, but anyone who coaches for the Dallas Cowboys is screwed because Jerry Jones sleeping in bed with you, micromanaging you. Okay. Following every footstep. The guy is that much of a micromanager. I don't know what the situation was in Green Bay. I didn't research it. It was a long time ago. Nothing bad happened, because otherwise we'd know that and it'd be stuck in our minds. But let's give this gentleman a chance, okay? Let's support him. Let's root for him. He's a Pittsburgh guy, and he's won a Super Bowl, okay? So let's do this. Let's have a positive mindset. The glass is half full, okay? That's how we should be looking at this, and that's my opinion. All right, I hope all of you have a good rest of the week, and we'll see what happens at 2:00 this afternoon.